Hey everybody, hope you're having a good weekend so far. It is Sunday morning here right now. I wanted to bring in a little breaking news that happened last night. You may have heard about this, but before I get into that, I want to mention that in my last video about stacking food, if you haven't already, look at the comments. There's so much good information, particularly the pinned comment that Mary made. There's there's a long thread there with a lot of really good information. Please check it out. It's a lot of comments from some people who are on the inside in the grocery business and seeing the logistics and the issues there. Good comments, good information. Check it out if you have time. I appreciate it. Okay, back to this story. So, Major League Baseball game. May want to pack some protection, I know you can't bring it in the stadium, but Kevlar vest, something like that when you're outside the stadium at least. But anyway, this story broke later last night at DC, the Nationals, San Diego Padres baseball game. There was a shooting outside of the stadium. Sent people, apparently it must have been really close. I mean, just outside the stadium, because from what I'm seeing on some of the things I've read, that it sent fans scrambling, jumping over some of the fencing there in the front, the barrier, and into the dugout. Fans were jumping in the dugout, just taking cover because they heard multiple gunshots. One of the umpire crew chiefs said it was a chaotic scene. We heard what sounded like rapid gunfire. We didn't know where it was coming from. So I'm sure that's what caused the chaos. They just heard rapid gunfire. And when you're in a stadium like that, you don't know where it's coming from. You don't know if it's inside. They probably thought it was coming from inside the stadium. So that's what sent them in a panic, I can imagine. You can imagine just being at a baseball game with your family or your significant other, kicking back with a beer or Coke, some peanuts. You know, we've done it plenty of times to go to Braves games here. And you hear rapid gunfire all of a sudden. Not something you're used to. That would be a panic. That would be a time to really be worried about where it's coming from, first, and hit the floor, I guess. So anyway, 3 people were wounded. Doesn't talk about fatalities, so that's good. But apparently outside the stadium, there were cars passing right by the front or right by one of the gates of the stadium, and gunfire was exchanged. One female who was a fan, who was at the game, that was just happened to be outside the stadium, was hit by the gunfire, but says that she has injuries, but should survive. Said there were 3 people shot outside the stadium. There were 2 gunmen in cars that opened fire on each other and hit the bystander, which was the baseball fan, the Nationals fan. Could have been a San Diego fan, who knows? But anyway, it was at the game, and that number was up there. Okay. DC said Saturday people shot at each other. Injuries were not considered life-threatening, so it sounds like that person will be okay, or all the people will be fine. This is the second shooting in DC in the last 24 hours. The shootings happened about a mile apart. We got an issue there, for sure. I believe that, this is, how many times do you hear about something like this? This is not something you hear of often at a Major League Baseball game. Granted, thankfully, it wasn't inside the stadium, but I believe this is just another thing. And you hear about all the uptick and the wave of crime. And I've talked about this a little bit before, but I believe the fabric of our society is just tearing right apart. I mean, it's just shredding right down the seams. Just be really prepared, hyper aware when you're outside, when you're going out, no matter where you're going, no matter what kind of town you're in, whether it's a big city, of course, even a small town, even your suburbs. Be on the lookout. Just watch people. Trust your gut. If it doesn't feel right, back up, get out of that situation. But I believe the relative law and order that we see, I say relative, But the relative law and order that we see is just such a thin line right now. It's so thin. And I think it's just dissipating. I really do. Depending on your location, some are better than others. But like I said, even in the small towns, cities, you really have to be careful. Go out in pairs or large, small groups if possible. Have a protection, have self-defense, prepare just in case. Uh, but I believe this is a problem that will proliferate. I think we will see it more often. Uh, the police, it doesn't seem like the police are able to respond as quickly from what I'm reading a lot as they used to be. A lot of police are leaving these departments, police, especially in the large cities. I can't imagine the fear there is they're losing their good people, they're losing the good cops. And personally, I avoid large crowds. I've avoided large crowds for a long time, but especially in the last year and a half or so. We used to go to Braves baseball games, and they were downtown Atlanta. And of course, I was always just very aware, especially going to and from the stadium, walking. But they have since, a few years ago, the Braves, as some of you may know, they moved out to the suburb on the northwest of Atlanta. Other side of the dang state from me. Haven't been to a game since. I hardly even follow it on TV anymore. You know, more of a football fan personally. But anyway, I digress. But again, if you're going to games, whether it's major league, minor league, little league, you got a gathering of people. Just keep an eye on folks. It's a shame we have to do that, but please do. Be safe. Be aware. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. God bless you. I'll see you soon.